All right, let's talk about something every leader, every manager, heck, anyone who's ever tried to get a project done knows all too well. It's that frustrating gap, right? The one between a brilliant strategy and the messy reality of actually making it happen. Today, we're diving into Stephen Bungay's The Art of Action to figure out how to close that gap for good.
I mean, you've been there, right? You've got this killer plan, everyone in the meeting is nodding along, it all makes perfect sense. But then, somewhere between the PowerPoint deck and the actual day-to-day work, the whole thing just fizzles out. It loses steam. So what's really going on there? Why do even the best strategies seem to fail during execution?
So Bungay says the first step to fixing this is to actually give the problem a name. He calls it the gap. And just understanding what it is, just being able to point to it, well, that's half the battle right there.
And I love this way of thinking about it. The gap isn't some giant, obvious pothole you can just swerve around. No. It's more like 1,000 tiny cracks in the road. It's this slow, creeping disconnect between what leaders want to happen and what their teams actually do, day in and day out. It's the quiet place where great strategies go to die.
So, okay, why does this gap even exist? I mean, is it just bad luck? Not at all. As an organization gets bigger, it can turn into this incredibly complex machine, you know? A simple instruction goes in one end, but then it has to pass through all these different departments, each with its own priorities, its own way of talking, and by the time it comes out the other side, yeah, it can look like something completely different.
Okay, so how in the world do we start to fix this? How do we build a bridge across this dangerous gap? Well, Bungay argues that the foundation for everything, the absolute first plank you have to lay down, is one simple, incredibly powerful concept: clarity.
You know, ambiguity, it's like a thick fog. It rolls in and suddenly everyone gets lost, bumping into each other, unsure of which way to go. The only solution? You need a lighthouse. A single, powerful beam of absolute clarity that just cuts right through all that confusion so everyone knows exactly which direction they're supposed to be heading.
Now, to get that kind of clarity, you need a practical tool. And yeah, I know, the SMART framework can feel like corporate jargon, but trust me, it's basically a filter for ambiguity. It forces you to take a vague goal like, let's increase sales, and turn it into something undeniable, something concrete. We are going to increase sales of product X by 15% in the third quarter. Boom. Suddenly, everyone is aiming at the exact same target.
But you know, clarity isn't just about the what. It goes so much deeper. You have to explain the why. When your team genuinely understands why a goal matters, how their individual work plugs into the bigger picture, that's when the magic happens. You don't just get people following orders, you get real, genuine commitment. All right, so you've got a crystal clear plan, awesome. But what happens the second that beautiful plan smacks into reality? Because let's be honest, reality doesn't care one bit about our spreadsheets and our 5-year plans. And that's why the next piece of this puzzle is all about building an environment that can adapt and roll with the punches, not fight against them.
Think about it this way. Is your organization a brittle brick tower, or is it a living tree? A rigid organization, that's the tower. It tries to force reality to fit its plan, and the moment it's under real pressure, it just shatters. But an adaptive organization, that's the tree. It empowers its people, its roots run deep with collaboration, and it knows how to bend with the wind, actually growing stronger because of the challenges, not in spite of them.
So how do you actually grow that kind of adaptive culture? Well, it really all comes down to creating a safe space for people to grow. It starts with trust. You, as the leader, define the what and the why, but you empower your team to figure out the how. You create an environment where a mistake isn't something to be punished, but instead it's seen as essential data, a learning opportunity that fuels real innovation. Okay, so let's recap. We've got clarity, we've got an adaptive environment. But here's the thing, these pieces don't just magically appear out of thin air. They need a catalyst, and that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial element of all, the leader. In this Art of Action model, the leader is so much more than just a boss giving orders. They are the chief storyteller, the person who constantly communicates the why. They use their emotional intelligence to build genuine trust. They empower their teams by truly delegating, not micromanaging. And this part is absolutely key. They foster accountability without ever creating a culture of blame. So this is basically the leader's playbook for action. And it's not a speech you give once and then forget about. It's a continuous cycle. You communicate the why over and over, you delegate with real trust, You make sure your team has the support and resources they need to actually win, and you hold everyone, including yourself, accountable to the goal. Then, you start the loop all over again.
And that right there, that's the ultimate mindset shift. The leader isn't the one barking orders from the safety of the back. No, they are the guide, the coach, the enabler. Their job isn't just to point at the top of the mountain. It's to equip the team with everything they need for the long, unpredictable journey to get there.
So, let's bring it all home. The art of action is really about building a solid bridge over that frustrating execution gap. First, you have to actually see and define the gap itself. Then you build the foundation of that bridge with absolute, undeniable clarity. You make sure the structure can handle real-world weather by fostering an adaptive culture. And finally, you as the leader guide the charge by empowering your team to get across that bridge and actually get things done.
So as you think about your own team, your own organization, I'll leave you with this critical question. Your strategy might be perfectly clear, but is your team truly empowered to act on it? Because without that empowerment, the best plan in the world will always remain just that, a plan.